Hello. Yeah. Hello. Welcome everyone to the second session of day two. The second session is on technology and socio-economic planning, which was initially supposed to be taken by Dr. Santosh Kumar, but because of some inconveniences, Professor Basi is going to take the session. So we had a session from Professor Basi, Director IUCI PRS, yesterday as well, who happens to be the coordinator of the program. So I'll just give a brief profile of Basi sir. We for those participants who were not present yesterday. Professor, yeah, Professor Basi sir is currently director at Inter University Center for IPR Studies, and he's also holding the charge of the directorship of CSIS. Apart from that, sir is a professor in management studies in the School of Management Studies at CUSAT. He has over 30 years of teaching experience, and he is a member of numerous professional bodies and has been experts at various committees. So with that, I'd request Basi sir to kindly take over from here. Sir.
Thank you. I am trying to share my screen. Is it visible? I'll just put the slide. Welcome to all the participants once more to this session in which we will look at the interaction between technology, and society, and economics. I'll take you through so that what is discussed is pinned, and then when the slide is shared, you can always have a look at that once more. Am I audible? Is my slide?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we can view your slides. Those who are not in a position to view the slides, request you to kindly pin the presentation. So there will be two profiles of Basi sir. So request you to pin the profile wherein it's being in the presentation mode.
Okay, thank you. So let us get into the subject matter. From the beginning of time, man has strived to improve his base and quality of life. The caveman discovered how to make and use tools, developed a logical sequence of activities, and evolved processes that added value to his life. From primitive animals, that was a great change. The totality of the use and application of his knowledge, skills, tools, and materials constitute what we today describe as technology. From a biotechnology lab that you see on the right side to the International Space Station revolving around the Earth, man has progressed on this path of technology a lot. Like the previous speaker, Dr. Vinod said, technology, there is a common area of understanding and there are small deviations in its definitions as and when it is used in different contexts. Basically, all the knowledge, many people think that only knowledge is technology. No, knowledge, skills, tools. In my talk yesterday, I was talking about technology embedded in machinery, tools, equipment, etc. For example, you have a blood glucose monitor into which you have put a strip and give a drop of blood and it displays your blood glucose level. It has a lot of technologies including those uses, enzymes, reagents, electronics, all embedded into that product. Now, let us look at science and technology in development. There are technologies which we have had from ages. For example, the iron and steel technology, which was earlier stages in the workshop of a blacksmith. From there, it went into the as an industry where it is done on a large scale. We have the construction industry, which from primitive cave dwellings to thatched huts, it has now become high rises. Relatively new technology added to the scenario is our electronics, the chips, and we have the humanoids, the robots, which have come later and have contributed to development of use of technology for development. Every nation endeavors to attain development. Development is on the agenda of all nations, all people. Everyone desires development. But what is development for one might not be development for another. For example, for an entrepreneur, development would mean his entrepreneurship venture, his company growing, getting more money. But that might not be the definition of the person who is a customer. Might not be the definition of the man on the street. So we have to understand what is development. And as a nation, when we are discussing impact of technology on society, on economics of a country, we have to define this word development in a more holistic way. Everything starts from this development. Where are we wanting to go? Development may mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, like I told. Therefore, the nature and character of that development and meaning we attach to it needs to be carefully discussed, understood, and the last word, agreed upon. For this, from the UN onwards, there are agencies which are trying to discuss and prioritize that. To many countries, development is simply becoming in the future what industrialized countries are today. So, today, what is available in, say, Europe, USA, I want those things and that kind of life be made available to the citizen of India. So, those walking behind in the so-called path of development want to have the things that people ahead have. That is a very narrow way of looking at development. But that is the dominant way of looking at development. Development is acceleration of growth, economic growth. Look at a few things given. It is not only acceleration, it is reduction in the inequality and eradication of absolute poverty. However, development is not merely an economic phenomenon. So all the other three words were to deal with, these three were to deal with the economic phenomena. Economic growth, inequality in terms of availability of resources, again, mostly economic, and poverty, of course. So this development is development from an economic angle. However, development is not purely an economic activity. In an ultimate sense, we started our program today, not today, this program with a class of on yoga, meditation, well-being. The ultimate object is well-being. And as you know, it is not only contributed by the economic strength. There is survival need. From the bottom, there are survival needs. You need food, clothes, and shelter to survive. Then you want to have relationship. Man is a social animal. You want to have relationship. You want to live in a society. In the society, you want to be respected, self-esteem, then transform yourself, continuously learn, improve, and develop. Then developing a cohesive culture, develop and integrate with others. Then at higher levels, making a difference, and ultimately being of use to humanity. Some of the levels of consciousness which people try to achieve. And people who achieve, if in society everyone is at the highest levels of consciousness, we can say that is the most developed society. We say, though in the GDP, other countries are highest, the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, these countries are said to be highest on the quality of life. Happens in a society through multi-dimensional processes. It involves reorganization, reorientation of entire economic and social systems. For example, to eradicate poverty in all countries, it has been done not just by giving well-paying jobs to everyone, but also supporting those who do not have job, those who are unemployed, through some amount of money, unemployment doles, and the so-called social help, so that their basic needs are taken care of. So it is not just by providing jobs. It involves this reorganization. It involves major changes in administrative, institutional, and social structures. We have to believe that that person who is poor, does not have job, also has a right to life, and it's not enough for us to increase our prosperity alone. So the social structures need to adjust themselves. It involves major changes in popular attitudes, customs, and beliefs. What is the role of science and technology in development? Just look at this diagram. Science drives the truth wheel of technology and innovation, which drives sustainable industrial and economic development in a society, in a nation, in a firm. So these are, but then at firm level, one might not do everything. At individual level, you might not do your science, your technology. You might operate inside any of these spaces, inside. Science and technology are considered by many to be forces of improvement in the welfare of developing states. Development of science leads to development of technology. That is easily understood. How can this be understood? The reverse arrow, development of technology leads to development of science. Very easy to understand that. Science will produce technology which will be used for producing many instruments, which will be used again to develop more science. If you go to a modern laboratory, it is full of instruments which have been developed using technology, which is again plowed back into science to develop science. So both science, development in science and development in technology, both more so development in technology contributes to economic development. And this economic development leads to both quantitative changes and qualitative changes in the society. Quantitative changes such as the production, GDP, employment, investment, capital, income, consumption, etc. These are all economic and economics related parameters which all are quantitative, they are impacted. And qualitative changes such as organization, how society is organized, the power structure, the life expectancy, nutrition, safety, all these. I would include well-being also changes. And obviously, changes in the qualitative changes in society also go in turn to improve the qualitative changes. So they have reverse connection also. It's a cycle. On the other hand, glorifying technology and science has happened. On the other hand, science and technology is also feared by many to be potential contributors to the dehumanization of man and to the degradation of environment. I've chosen some pictures. This is a power plant. You can say it is a power plant because, and it is a fossil fuel based, most likely coal based power plant, because there is a smokestack and there are these cooling towers. So fossil fuel and large scale production of power in this power plants leading to this. And obviously the marine pollution due to plastics and other things that we are discarding carelessly, which is creating a lot of havoc in the environment. That is the effect of on the environment. The Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bomb attack at the end of World War II. Dehumanization of man by technology. Fortunately, after that, such a negative incident has not happened, and nuclear energy and nuclear technology is being used mostly for the positive. But then the threat of nuclear and energy for destructive use is not gone out of the screen. It is still lurking in the shadows. Recognizing these two seemingly opposing influences of science and technology in development, we need to be objective in our perspective. That is, to view science and technology in development. We have to be always wary about there could be right, there will be rights, but there would be wrongs also, which would be the effect of certain progress or use of certain technologies. So just blindly thinking that it is all right and proceeding with the use of technologies as they come would not be beneficial for the society. But just because there is a wrong, we should not ban or not view a technology, for using technologies. We should try to choose appropriate technologies and mitigate the wrongs which are being brought out or reduce their impact to the minimum. For example, most of the factories do pollute, but then we use pollution control technologies to reduce the impact of this pollution. So there is a right with this technology, there is a wrong also. For example, steel making technology, again power plant, but then there are pollution control technologies also available so that this wrong is reduced. The role of science and technology in development should be directed towards reduction of inequalities between advanced and developing nations and between various sections of the population within a country. Left to itself, technology will increase this divide. because technological capabilities of different nations are different. So nations which have higher capability, if they make technology, use it for themselves only, then this divide will increase, which will result in higher tensions between nations across the globe. In a society inside a nation also, you see this picture of a person outside a big city in his hut, looking at what technology and what prosperity has been created in a city, with himself being just as his just as his great grandfathers had been living in a small hut. This is where the role of planning at a national level, at a community level, at a state level comes in to bridge. Technology by itself will not. Especially bridging can be done in two ways, between haves and have-nots. Logical statement I'm making. Take everything from those who have and give it to the have-nots. But is this model sustainable? If that is done, the haves make everyone poor, so you can remove the inequalities. But that is not desirable. Now, if you want to lift the people who are marginalized and poor, who cannot pay for it, then someone has to pay for it. A mechanism for that has to be developed. Or technologies which don't cost as much but deliver services which are required have to be found out. In trying to bridge these inequalities, science and technology should make a natural social and environment harmonious without endangering the future. Instead, conflicts should be reduced in the society, cooperation should be increased, and not that the society is endangered. Science and technology should be inserted as should not be inserted as separate packages of development. Meaning, you should not view a science and technology policy separately from a national development policy. These should be integrated, should not be viewed in isolation from the rest of the national evolution, whether material or otherwise. Failure to integrate development programs based on science and technology into national concepts and ways may lead to their total rejection. Hope you understood this point. That science, technology, we are different. Social science, development, economics, we are different. You do your work, we do our work. This, okay, ultimately when you're doing micro level work, that is what you do. But at the macro level, they should join together into a common plan. The role of science and technology for development must be directed within the framework of fundamental social, cultural, and economic rights and a peaceful cooperative world. UN is making a lot of attempts. That is why there are certain technology schemes by the UN where technologies developed under that scheme will be available at very subsidized low rates for use. There was a time, I just look at hunger in the world. Hunger in the world is a reality. Yes, those of us who are attending this program are very far from that reality, but it is a reality in our country also. If you look at hunger, you can imagine there is hunger because there is scarcity of food. Because what I mean to say is there is not enough food available in the world to feed its population. If that is the condition, we can understand why hunger is there in the world. Because enough food is not produced for all to feed. Obviously, people who have more money will corner up their share and take it away, leaving nothing for the poor. But that is not the condition today. That was the condition in the century previous to, and in the beginning, first half of the last century also, it was the case. But thereafter, that is not the case. It is not because enough is not produced that that some people go hungry. It is because it is produced and kept away and not given to people who are hungry by some means. During the 1980s and 80s, and sometime in 90s also, many developed, I won't name the nations, some of the developed nations filled their ships with wheat, took it out into the sea and dumped it. So did they get anything out of dumping the wheat in the sea, or burnt it in their fields? Did they get anything out? Why did they do it? They did it so that if they send this also to the market, price of wheat will decline in the market. Price will decline. So to keep up the price, what they did is destroyed food. So this kind of attitudes create the hindrance of bridging but technology, how can it be used to prevent this problem? Technology plus legal measures. Technology to monitor whether this is being done or not. And legal measures to punish people who do it. A combination could be applied. Conditions for application of science and technology. We want to apply science, technology, and others to the society to create a better world. Application of science and technology is a fundamental factor which influences the pace of economic development. Material and social benefits enlarge through proper application of science and technology. I underline the word proper. The effective application of science and technology implies the existence of certain prerequisites. A few of them are creation of a social climate favorable to the application of science and technology. Social climate. One of the problems with many nations in Africa is that perpetually there is civil war in those countries. So when there is war, no social climate for doing anything other than fight the war. So peace is a requirement for favorable application of science and technology. Collaboration is also a very important requirement. Role and responsibilities of the universities in implantation of science. To develop a scientific culture in the society, also to impart training in science and technology, universities, educational institutions play a big role. Technical and technological education and training. Universities do technical and technological and training in other disciplines also. So special emphasis on technical and technological education and training. And promotion of technological sciences and applied research. Yes, basic research is important, but then a certain amount of applied research, if it is not there, then the basic research will not result in technologies. agriculture, education, and research, infrastructure of auxiliary services, transportation, communication, health, and other things. There are the Millennium Development Goals. The UN in 2000 September agreed to what is called Millennium Development Goals. I told that when you look at socio-economic planning, it happens at different levels. It happens globally, it happens at country level, it happens, socio-economic happens only up to country level, state level, means state level, not at, say, panchayat level, not as much. Some amount, it is more use of technology for problem solving that happens at panchayat and other local body levels. But then the planning happens at national and state level, and of course, the international levels by the UN. So the United Nations Millennium Development Goals are the 8 goals set by 189 UN Charter members in September 2000 and was agreed upon to be achieved by 2015. Why should we know the goals which are international, national, or state? See, if we don't know where we are going, then we could walk in any direction. So as a world community, we are trying for achieving these 8 things. All people who are literate should know this is what we are trying to strive to achieve. And what special is our country doing, we doing, our locality doing to contribute to this? Only if the hand, each and every hand is available, maximum hands are available for doing this, these goals will be achieved. Without doubt, the first Millennium Development Goal was to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. To eradicate. Has not yet been achieved worldwide, but it still remains a goal. Achieve universal primary education. This and this are connected, because just if you give food, shelter, provide them, then you will have to continuously provide food and shelter to the current poor population, to their children, and so on. To bring them out of the poverty cycle, you would want them to be educated. Initially at primary level, and then people who, obviously because of enrollment ratio increase, many of from primary education will go to higher level and higher level education. Promote gender equality and empower women. A Millennium Development Goal for the world. The third goal. Reduced child mortality, because child mortality is the first and primary indicator of very poor health condition. In a society, in a group, the health condition is very poor, child mortality will be highest. Improve maternal health, health of the mother, because health of the mother and child mortality are related. Combat HIV, AIDS, and other contagious diseases. Now, Corona has joined this list. They could not have written Corona then because it was written in 2000 September. Ensure environmental friendliness. Be friendly to the environment and sustain the environment. Don't degrade it. Don't snatch away the future and a future from the hands of the coming generations. Global partnership for development. This is for action. Each country to fend for itself, yes, to a great extent, but through partnerships also one can achieve this goal. And that is why partnership is important. And countries are asked what they have been done for, what is their level of achievement on all this. On one, what did India achieve? On two, Millennium MDG 1, what did you achieve? MDG 2, what did you achieve? And so on is asked. It's measured, monitored, and action plans for achieving are done. This is how integration of economics, social requirements, and the technology takes place. Sustainable development goals. These were adopted by all the nations in 2015. What is the importance of 2015? Because the MDG, Millennium Development Goals, was said to be achieved by 2015. So when 2015 came, they were evaluated, Millennium Development Goals were evaluated, and fresh sets of goals to take nations to a higher level was set. And Millennium Development Goals which were not achieved were also still kept in the Sustainable Development Goals. A difference you can observe in the use of terminology is Millennium Development Goals were just focusing on the problems. Sustainable Development Goals brought in, though they said sustainable development, sustainability was a goal inside the Millennium Development Goal, sustainability became the title in the Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainability became a part of the title and not just a goal. So this is adopted by the member nations in 2015 to be achieved by 2030. To be achieved by 2030. No poverty, zero hunger. Hunger and poverty separated, made into two goals. Because poverty eradication will result in solving some hunger also. Good health and well-being. Quality education. From primary education, giving education has been increased to higher levels. Gender equality. Clean water and sanitation. What happened was, this is the problem we created. Nature had given us a lot of clean water, and when the population was all spread out, sanitation was not a problem. But through urbanization, pollution, and misuse of resources, we created this problem of clean water and sanitation requirement. Living in urban dwellings, we rely to, and living a life which uses a lot of energy, we rely on a lot of energy which is piped or wired into our house. So affordable and clean energy, to provide technologies to provide affordable and clean energy. Decent work and economic growth, employment and growth. Industry, innovation and infrastructure. Industries to innovate, not just keep producing what they have been producing in the past, and infrastructure for development. Because infrastructure, primarily creation of infrastructure responsibility rests with the government and public bodies. Though private enterprise could be involved in executing the project, conceiving And finding funding for the project and all those things are primarily the government roles. Reduced inequalities. It recognized that the inequalities are a problem. So reduction of these inequalities. Sustainable cities and communities, not polluting and gobbling up all the resources and not leaving anything for others, not cities of that type. And while these goals are being discussed, I am not talking about the technologies which go into achieving these. But when this is discussed, the role of a technologist is to look at what are the technologies which can go into helping achieve each of these sustainable development goals. Responsible consumption and production, recycling, responsible consumption and production, not just gobbling away at everything and wasting things. Climate action, very important. Life below the water, marine environment protection. Life on land, to improve the condition for life on land. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. Again, last, partnership for the goals. Partnership is always coming, but then it is not put as first, because then everyone will sit back and say, you solve my problem. I will not do anything. You solve my problem. That is why partnership is not put first. It is just put at the end. So please understand, as technologists, we should understand these goals which have been adopted, because all the member countries have adopted these goals thereafter. So India has also adopted. So I give you a tip here. If you're submitting a project to DST and you can connect the outcomes of your project to be able to impact any of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, it will connect. It is more likely to get you funding. I repeat, when you are asking for funds for projects from government agencies, if you can link the expected outcomes or outputs of your project to any of these sustainable development goals, one or more, you can say this is how it will impact the sustainable development goals. It will be easier to fund, because they are asked, government is asked, of how many technologies did you go, money did you spend on technologies to reduce hunger. For example, agriculture technologies which increase productivity, which are engineering technologies to provide irrigation. All those things can be cited as to reduce hunger, to reduce poverty, for good health and well-being. All these three you can pitch in if you are working on those technologies. So you should be knowing that these things are happening, and you should be able to connect to it. To achieve the MDS and Sustainable Development Goals, the technologies are the enablers. Technology is the enabler. Nation without science and technology will definitely be a backward nation and will remain undeveloped. Science and technology is associated with modernity and is, of course, the tool for development. As a last part of my talk today, I will take you, previous speaker, Professor Vinod, had mentioned, Vinod Nair had mentioned about IFAC. IFAC is the arm of the Department of Science and Technology, which does technology forecasting and planning. So this TIFAC has come out with Technology Vision 2035. It's a document. I'll share this Technology Vision 2035 document with you. Just go through it and see. When you go through it, you will find that there has been a lot of thought and people have come out with this document. But unfortunately, what is happening is the existence of such documents, such policies, do not trickle down our technology manpower. So it does not percolate into people who are dealing with technology. It remains a document in the website and in the planning circles. That is unfortunate. If it is understood and it trickles down, we might be able to do much more in harnessing and working, marching together towards technology. The preamble by Dr. Anil Adodkal, chairman of TIFAC. He was previously CSIR chairman. When he was the chairman of TIFAC, that is when 2018, that is when this document has been released. Recognizing that technology is one of the key drivers for empowering individuals, you see, starts from empowering individuals, societies, and countries. The thrust was on development, empowerment, inclusivity, sustainability, and environment. They are prioritized on technology development and empowerment, that it cannot be done just by the government or through a few CSIR labs. The society, the industries, people working in different labs in different universities have to be empowered to create technologies. Only then large-scale use and development of technology will happen. Especially innovation. Innovation can happen mostly by empowerment. Then inclusivity. Technology developed inside closed confines and used and enjoyed only by a few, that the government does not want. India does not want. So it wants to be inclusive in this development and use and empowerment exercise. It wants to develop technologies and remain sustainable. Not that it explodes like a bomb and it provides a lot of light when it is explode and thereafter it is darkness. No. Obviously, we are in the tropics. And in the world, the tropics, equatorial and tropic regions are the most diverse in flora and fauna. So we are blessed to be in the strips of land which are most endowed by nature. We should have it that way forever. We have identified, you will see, I have just picked up headings from these different areas. I have picked up headings of the different segments they have in this report. It does not surprise me, nor will it surprise you to see that education has been put as the first driver of technology growth. Education. So, please understand, education and gaining certificates have to be now disconnected. At one time, it was all connected. People who are certified as educated are educated. But with the proliferation of education and the drop in quality, what has happened is we no longer can believe people carrying certificates to be skilled or knowledgeable in what they are certified. So some problem has occurred there. We need to correct those problems, and we need to make education, especially in this context, science and technology education, take it forward so that people can work in the technology space. What we are currently doing is we leave them at understanding just the basics as they are, as they were in the beginning in 1950s. For example, a mechanical engineer, 80% of what he studies today is also what a mechanical engineer studied in the 1960s and 70s. 80% of what he studied. Why I talked about this in engineering is not basic science. Engineering is with technology. Then technology is regarding conversion of what you know in scientific principles and things like that, using that to make products or services. So it is important that technology is not taught as science is taught. In fact, science is also, after some basics, it should take them to the latest. While jumping a few, obviously jumping will be there. You can't teach everything that was taught 15 years back and add the new things also. You will have to drop certain things from what is taught 15 years, 20 years back and add the new things which are relevant, on which these people have to go forward. Not everything that is the latest. What these people can take forward, those latest have to be definitely included. So even you understand how in education, even in curriculum design, how by curriculum design, we are contributing to achievement of science and technology targets of the nation. It is not that UGC says, AICTE says, every 3 years, 5 years, you revise. So we did a revision. No. Why is it said? Because things are changing. And what a person who passes out now should know, what is expected of him when he joins an industry has become different. So don't worry about many things you were taught, which you are not going to teach youngsters, so they won't know. Not necessary for them to know everything that you learned yourself. Urban infrastructure. We know. Why urban infrastructure? Because urban areas are the areas hotspot of economic activities. Urban areas are the hotspots of economic activities. So these hotspots, they are in a smaller geography. They need more of infrastructure because they are hotspots. In urban areas, the traffic density on every kilometer of road is higher than a national highway. So everything is higher in an urban area. the square kilometer number of houses, energy consumption, requirement for garbage disposal, all these things will be higher because that's a hot spot of economic activity. So these hotspots on a motherboard of a computer chip, where do you put the fans? You definitely have to put one on your CPU. Why on the CPU? Because CPU is the hotspot on your motherboard where maximum computation happens. So when maximum computation happens there, it's heated. Heat has to be dissipated. So you provide a fan there. Similarly, hotspots of economic activity is urban centers, and therefore they need the congestion to be decongested in form of more facility, more roads and things like that, so that urban infrastructure is provided and wastage of resources. Because when infrastructure is reduced, what happens is a lot of resources are wasted, starting from people spend more time on commuting on the road. So the loss, you lose time on the road, which could have been productively used elsewhere. You pollute more, people fall sick, lose man days in hospitals. Heat goes up. You need more of air conditioning and things like that. So this is, if infrastructure is not present, you create a lot of inefficiencies in the system. And if you create inefficiencies in your economic hotspots, then you are losing a lot. Global resources, especially the information resource, is today global thanks to the World Wide Web and Internet. It's a treasure house, but most people do not know how to exploit this treasure house and make use of it. So today, when a learner complains that since I didn't have a book on this topic, I could not study it, you just needed a smartphone connected with internet connectivity, not 10 books on 10 subjects to study those 10 subjects. So these global resources, you should have the gateway to that global resource. You should know how to use it. And if you're trained to use these resources and you have a gateway to it, meaning you have connectivity, access to it, these are more. And these are not as expensive as the other things. In fact, a good book will cost you 2-3 months of your telephone bills for internet and other connectivity. Good domestic book. A foreign book will cost you more than a few months of maybe a year or more of internet connectivity bills. So learning to use global resources is important. You do not have to invent the wheel for yourself. If someone has invented the wheel, then you can know how to use the wheel. I don't refer to this IPR here, because there are many areas in which you can still, because IPR also gives protection for only a certain number of years, thereafter it is free for use. Development policies, one has to understand the development policies also. One has to understand the development policies. We are ignorant about it. This comes to my mind. The new education policy has been announced. The same draft was available and the final version is available, PDF version is available. I doubt if 1% of the people working in academics in India have downloaded it and glanced through it, not read it. It's a huge document, reading it completely, you might never do. But at least glance through it to look at its salient features. Those of us who are interested rely upon what others are saying about it. That is an easy method, but it is a biased method because each speaker has their own agenda, what they are trying to prove or disprove. B, trying to prove or disprove what they are trying to prove or disprove, and therefore what they do to present, what aspects they will present will depend on their agenda. Are they trying to put it down, then they will present certain points. Are they going to praise it, then they will put. But then if you follow what many people from all these segments have said, then you will get a fair idea. But then regarding policies, we think it is the government's job, and after policies are more, it doesn't matter. We need not look at it. That is not good on part of educated people. Environmental issues, yes, we leave it to the NGOs and people who are activists to do that. Even in our neighborhood, even on our street, we don't try to get involved by picking up some trash which is there and depositing in somewhere which is designated. Technological solutions we are looking at for all these in the policy. They have looked at technological solutions for all the things they have to do. Electronic communication. Electronic communication is very important to bring all the people together. Global resources, all people together, not only for information regarding learning, it is societal information, things like that, communication with the masses. Quality of research has especially been touched upon in this document. Need for technology and technology for needs. Just look at that statement. Need for technology and technology for needs. Both is required. We need technology. And what kind of technology do we need? We need technology which satisfies our needs to survive, to thrive, and to be oneself. In this document, we are not trying to imitate or ape another country or become something else which already some country has become. Through use of technology, attempt is being made to survive, to thrive, and to be oneself. We can be certain of two things: that India will continue to be a very large, and it will continue to be very diverse, because this understanding has been put as the fundamental point. India will continue to be very large and it will continue to be very diverse. So if it is diverse, the needs will be diverse. There are two pervasive reasons for people-centric trust in the technology vision. Our technology vision is not a technology-centric, it is people-centric. It's not a national plan for just development, it is a national plan for technology vision. The first and most important is that India is a democracy. So people must come first. Thus, strictly speaking, our technology vision is not about India in 2035. It is about Indians in 2035. It's not about India in 2035. It is about Indians in 2035. There's a huge difference. Projected non-exclusive segments. So how will the demography of Indians in 2035 be? They have tried to visualize, project, okay, so many Indians will be in this, engaged in this and this. So this kind of a technology combination we will need to reach there. See? Creative, innovative, imagining people working will be around 15%. The globalized diaspora will be around 13%. Alternative lifestyles and worldviews will be 15%. Beehives of production line, the people who will be involved in producing the workforce will be 55%. Rooted and remote, the farmers and other people who are village dwellers, all will be 20%. Left out or behind will still be there. It is much higher today. They're not saying it will be zero then. They are saying it will still be 30%. So if this in people in India will be segmented like this in 2035, what will be their population needs? Security related, prosperity related, identity related needs. For each class, report and rooted, more security related needs means basic human needs, some amount of prosperity needs and identity needs also. The globalized people will have a very strong need for identity. The left out will always be looking at more and more prosperity. The alternative lifestyles will also want to have a special identity for themselves. The creative, imaginative will have needs of security of their jobs and lifestyle, and will have identity needs also. It is the beehives, because there will be disparity in salary of people who work in the production systems. They will have both security, prosperity needs, which are very large. So this will be very large, and these have to be addressed. The prerogatives set for at individual level, at collective level, the prerogatives were set. Nutrition security. This starts from clean, potable water, food, universal healthcare and hygiene, energy 24/7, decent habitat, quality education, livelihood, and creative opportunities. At the collective level, safe and speedy mobility, transport, public safety, and national security. Cultural, national security, disaster and climate, eco-friendly natural resources. All these are prerogatives. Transparent and effective governance, important for governments, especially in a democracy. Transparent and effective governance. Here, diversity and vibrancy. Among people, we should be able to tolerate, promote difference from others. See, in clean and potable water area, there have been technologies which have been identified. This was not Technology Vision 2035 is not a document which just says we will eradicate poverty, we will do this, that. It has gone down to find out which are the technologies that we'll need for clean and potable water. Advanced clean coal technologies, because it pollutes the air and brings down smoke into the water system and other systems, pollutes the water also. clean coal related technologies, alternate fuel based transportation, all this for cleaner world, novel propulsion technologies, green manufacturing, intelligent transport system, low dust construction technologies, real-time dense spatial air quality monitoring system, real-time aquifer have identified in which areas. See, self-healing pipelines also, dew harvesting in cold areas, because dew is very pure water. So how can it be harvested? So when you are submitting proposals, again, I come to submitting proposals, for you look at this also. And if you can find right proposals for any of these areas, they were more likely to be accepted by the funding agencies from government and from public space. In food and nutritional security, they have identified vertical farming, development of perennial cereal crops, not seasonal cereal crops alone, perennial, around the year, anytime you can grow them. Conversion of non-edible plants, including seafood flora, into food, biofortification, genomics and phenomics, transgenic crops and plants, animals, rapid diagnostics tool for disease detection, technologies for increasing shelf life of perishable goods, that is post-harvest technologies, electron beam food irradiation, oil to power technologies for food, high value nutraceuticals, pharmaceutical products from aquatic organisms and algae. See, there are many interactive foods, smart foods, 3D printing of fruits. They have looking at all this. Quality education. I did not take everything because it will be pretty boring. I am nearing my last slides. So quality education, livelihood and creative opportunities. So massive online open course, MOOCs, gaming and gamification, so that learning is made interesting, participation and grasping things happen. Interactive, remotely controlled laboratories. So personalized virtual teachers, personalized, not standard. 4G and 5G communication, immersive virtual reality. So this was done in 2017-18. 2017 November, the Prime Minister has written a foreword to this Vision 2035. Even then, they had put this immersive virtual reality as a means of achieving quality education and spreading that. Brain-computer interface and machine augmentation, cognition, wearable devices, digital identity and learning analytics, automation, evaluation and assessment systems, digital holography, 3D printing, real-time translation of Indian languages. That is a very unique to us requirement, because good talks, good lectures in a different language could be real-time converted or translated to any other language. So if I speak in English and deliver a video lecture, people who do not understand English but have other languages, understanding of other languages, can convert this and listen to my lecture, and that real-time conversion of my voice into their language could also take place. The essential prerequisites, they have said. Okay, this is what we desire. Transversal technologies, such as those transversal converting technologies, enabling technologies, such as dealing with materials, manufacturing, and ICT. These will be the enabling technologies. that will lead to further technologies which will provide all that we have seen there. Infrastructure and fundamental research. These they have identified as prerequisites which have to be put in place for us to achieve the technological vision. Capabilities and constraints. Top is the technology leadership. Technology leadership, leaders in technology spaces, in R&D organizations, in technology spaces. If the leadership is not good enough, we can't achieve this. We need technology independence also. We can't just be in the follower mode. We need technology innovation, a huge amount of innovation. Technology independence in spaces where we are constrained, for example, in space research, nuclear medicine, and defense-related technologies, where we are prevented from receiving the best just because only when the developed world decides to give the best, only then we can buy it. So their technology independence is very important. Yesterday, the GPS issue was talked about, technology independence. If you rely on US satellites to give you your position, then they can, in a conflict time, decide to withdraw that service and you are left with nothing. Technology adoption, our society has to adopt technology faster, use it, harness it very effectively. There are technology constraints which we have to bear in mind. So these are all listed out in that document. Call for action. The principal actors for the long-term sustainability of India's technological progress is important that higher education, technical educations are the first and foremost. To advance research on large scale and become a part of overall innovation ecosystem of the country. Key activities are three: knowledge creation, ecosystem design for innovation, and development technology deployment. Ecosystem we have to start with. Without a proper ecosystem, we won't be able to do this. I gave you a glimpse of the Technology Vision 2035. All educated citizens in India should be aware of this important national effort and play our part in it. A philosophical end note. Technology has to be used, relied upon. It should remain as a means for development and not become a master of the future, which decides the fate of life on this planet. Thank you all for listening. If you have any queries, I'll take them. I'll take your queries now. Yes, please go ahead.
Hello.
Please go ahead. Someone said hello.
Yeah, we have not found any questions in the chat box. So request the participants to unmute their microphone and pose the questions directly to the resource person, please.
Hello, sir. This is Rajesh. Sir.
Yes, Rajesh, tell me.
Yeah. Sir, you mentioned about 2035
Vision.
Development.
Yeah, technology. Development. Yeah.
So, is it any relation with 2020 plan
No.
that was proposed by
Abdul Kalam?
Yeah, proposed by Abdul Kalam. Is there any anything that
No. It is not a next version of that. See, different plans are proposed by different people. They take inputs from each other, but then they are certain things are on their own and certain are part of national planning. So this vision, technology 2035, is a part of national planning effort. And TIFAC has done it for the nation. And it is done as an exercise as a part of national planning. It has taken inputs from the other thing. In fact, Dr. Kalam's Vision 2020 took a lot of things from Millennium Development Goals, which were being discussed at that time.
Okay, sir.
They take from each other, but they are different documents created by different people, mandated by, this is mandated by law, and it has been created, right? But then we have to understand that this exists and this is what they have visioned for us and our country.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh.
Further questions?
There is a question by Agi. Will technology 35 impact education sector also? Without doubt, because it has been put as the first enabler, and obviously inputs from this have been taken in the national education policy, though they don't put reference and things like that. What we need, what kind of manpower we need, what kind of society we will have in 2035 to reach there, what kind of education we need, has been taken in the national education policy also. So these policies are not separate silos which don't talk to each other. They rely upon each other and take things further. So a specific policy is the national education policy for the country.
So the next question
is, does the agriculture extension influence the technology adoption, Amma? Yes, it does. Without doubt, it does. Extension is the way you take technology from the institute or labs to the field. So extension is a lot of importance, and a lot of innovation also has to take place in this extension activity. Problem solving and innovation also has to take place in the extension activity, which is of crucial importance.
Any more questions? I would like to request Ms. Sri to deliver a vote of thanks.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, all. The duty on me is to deliver the vote of thanks. On behalf of IUC IPRS and every participants, I thank the resource person, our director, and the coordinator of this program, Professor M. Basi sir, for his wonderful and informative presentation on technology and socio-economic planning. I hope the participants have gained immensely, sir. And thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation once again. And I also thank the participants for their active participation and their time. Thank you.
After lunch so that people can go back and come at the right time.
Sir, we'll break for lunch, and then we'll reassemble at 2 o'clock. So the next session, the next topic is implications of technology change, and it is by Professor Sam Thomas. So we'll meet at 2 p.m. So we'll break for lunch.